to work with the file format. So if I wanted to work with the unstructured data in Google Cloud Platform, we can able to work with GCS. So if I wanted to work with GCS, we already know. Can you guys tell me a few points about the GCS? Yes, at least 1 point. What is GCS?
Google Cloud Storage, unstructured data. We can store unstructured data,
Okay. To
objects,
work with
files,
unstructured data. Okay. Second
objects,
point.
files, JSONs. Okay.
It is an object storage service. Okay. And anyone, guys? Anyone? Any other points? What is Google Cloud Storage? I think in our last session I have told you what is Google Cloud Storage.
We
Can you
can
guys
create a
tell me
buckets,
points?
create a bucket.
Okay. Okay. So it's a fully managed service, guys. If you wanted to work with a Google Cloud Storage, it is a fully managed service. And if you wanted to, or how much amount of a data we can store here?
Unlimited.
Any amount of data we can store, and any number of files also we can store. And also you can see here, it's a fully managed service. The service for storing your data, any type of a data we can store, any amount of data we can store, any number of files also we can store here. And it is an object storage service. If you wanted to store any of the files in Google Cloud Platform, we can go to the GCS, and GCS is one of the very simple, very cost effective service to store any amount of data. And if you wanted to store the data, we can create the bucket, and a bucket is nothing but a container to store your files. It allows worldwide storage and retrieval. It is scalable and secure platform. Okay, first for creating a bucket, we have to provide the bucket name. We have to select the location. We have to select the storage class. We have to provide the access control. We have to choose the protection such as object versioning and retention policies. Right? So these are the things that we have seen. And today, so if I wanted to work with the structured data, we have two services. One is Cloud SQL. One more is BigQuery. Let us try to understand what are these services about. Okay. So let us start with the Cloud SQL and then we will go for the BigQuery. So what is Cloud SQL? Let us try to understand. So Cloud SQL is one of the, again it is also one of the fully managed service, guys. First thing, it is also one of the fully managed service. So to work with the Cloud SQL, you don't need to create any infrastructure. You don't need to maintain any infrastructure. You don't need to worry about networking, storage, backup. All of those things are taken care by the cloud platforms itself. So that is the reason it is called as a fully managed service. Second point. And what is Cloud SQL? If you ask me, sir, it is one of the RDBMS solution. It is one of the RDBMS solution, nothing but a relational database management system. Okay, relational database management system. So in a relational database management system, if you wanted to store the data in the form of a table, we can able to store it here. For example, if you wanted to work with the structured data, that means the data which is in the form of a tabular format, which will be having columns and rows, and the schema also must be defined properly. So if you wanted to work with such a kind of a solution, which is the RDBMS solution, which is an OLTP solution, and where you wanted to store a structured data, nothing but a tabular data where you will be having columns and rows and schema defined properly. So such a kind of a solution, if you want, you can go to the Cloud SQL. We can go to the Cloud SQL. And the fourth thing is that those who can't hear me, guys, please rejoin the session. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Yeah, great. See, if you guys are not able to hear me, please rejoin the session, guys. Yeah. Okay. So, for example, Cloud SQL. Sir, Cloud SQL is a database as a service, guys. So, cloud platforms providing you this Cloud SQL as a database so that we can use this database as a service for our own database needs. So, that is the reason it is actually a database as a service. So cloud platforms providing the Cloud SQL as a database as a service so that you can use these services for creating your own databases. Okay, so this is what is a Cloud SQL is a database as a service. Sir, how many types of database engines Cloud SQL supports? Cloud SQL supports how many database engines, sir? If you ask me, Cloud SQL supports three database engines. Okay, it supports three database engines. One is SQL Server, MySQL, and PostgreSQL. So these are the three database engines that are Cloud SQL supports. Okay, for example, if you go to on-premises, if you wanted to work with MySQL, you have to create the entire system, storage, backup, everything, networking, plugins, everything. Once after that, you have to install the MySQL if you wanted to work with MySQL. Install the MySQL and you have to control the access. You have to properly uh, take care of the access control as well as security and protection. But when you go to the Cloud SQL, even though if you wanted to work with MySQL or a SQL Server or a PostgreSQL, we can directly create it. We can directly create our own database engine. We can create our own database instance as per our requirement. Okay, so if you wanted to create a SQL Server or a MySQL or a PostgreSQL, it's our choice now. Okay, so it is our choice now. Whenever we wanted to create it, it doesn't take even more than 10 minutes. Hardly 10 minutes it takes for the instance to be created. So that is what is the Cloud SQL, sir. So Cloud SQL is one of the RDBMS solution where you can able to store the structured data. And it is a database as a service. It provides you three database engine. One is MySQL, SQL Server, and PostgreSQL. Okay, so this is how the Cloud SQL is, sir. Okay, the main use case for the Cloud SQL is that, say for example, assume that one small company. Take a small company. That company is managing its application. So assume that. So the use case I'm telling you guys. Now you got to know that what is Cloud SQL. Cloud SQL is one of the RDBMS solutions similar to the MySQL, similar to the SQL Server, similar to the PostgreSQL. What is the advantage of using the Cloud SQL is that it is a fully managed service. So no need to maintain any infrastructure, no need to maintain any other details also. All the details are taken care. The second option is that it provides you three database engines: MySQL, SQL Server, and PostgreSQL. Let us try to understand what is the use case where we can use the Cloud SQL. Let me try to tell you. Take a typical scenario. Assume that there is a Flipkart company. Okay, Flipkart company may be running from last 10 years. Let us try to understand. Flipkart has its own application, right? So Flipkart has its own application. What the people will do with the application, sir? What people try to do with the application?
Buy stuff.
Yes, they go to this application, they do some kind of a transaction so that they can able to purchase some kind of a products from the e-commerce platform such as Flipkart. Okay, Flipkart is one of the e-commerce platform where all the people try to, and most of the people try to go to that application and try to purchase some products. So whenever someone is doing some kind of a transaction over the application, that actual data is actually stored in the databases, backend databases. Assume that they are actually storing this data into a virtual machine, MySQL. Okay, they are actually storing this data into a virtual machine. So actually, this is an on-premises you can think of. On-premises, MySQL. In an on-premises, that means in an on-premises, what they have done is that they have created their own virtual machine. They have created their own virtual machine in on-premises, and on top of the virtual machine, they have installed the MySQL. Okay, what they have done is that 10 years before, this is what happens, right? In 10 years before, we do not have the cloud. Okay, when the Flipkart has started its platform, we do not have the cloud platforms available. So what they have done, they have gone to the on-premises, they have maintained their own data center. On top of the data center, they have created a one virtual machine. On top of the virtual machine, they have installed the MySQL. Once they have installed the MySQL, they have created some database. And inside your database, you will be having tables, products table, sales table, and some kind of a what we call customers
User.
information. Okay, such kind of information will be there. So for them, so when they are trying to managing their own MySQL database on top of the on-premises, they will be creating their own databases, databases and tables such as products, sales, and customers. So this is how their entire database will be. So at 10 years before, if you go back, you do not have the cloud platform. So that's the reason they have to maintain this entire MySQL on top of them. So when they say maintaining, they have to they have to maintain the VM. They have to maintain the networking for the VM. They have to maintain the storage backup. They have to maintain the storage and backup. They have to maintain the access control. Okay, all of these things they have to maintain, guys. And few more things are also there. I'm not telling. Let's now just focus on. So, for example, when you wanted to work with them, because they wanted to store their entire database data into their databases. For example, whenever a user is doing some kind of a transaction, so that transaction details will go to the products table, sales table, and customers table. So this is what happens, guys. In the back end business, this is what happens. Where your data actually coming from? Whenever a user is doing some kind of a transaction, those transaction details will actually go to the databases. If they bought some product, the product details, sales details, customer details, customer address details, transaction details, many tables will be there. For each and every table, there will be a data updated. Okay, so this is what happens. Now the problem is that now after 10 years, now we are in this era, now the Flipkart is unable to manage their own virtual machine. They're unable to manage this virtual machine. They don't want to manage their networking. They don't want to manage the storage and backup. They don't want to manage the access control. It is because the cloud platforms came, most of the people are moving towards the cloud platform and they don't want to do all of these things on their own. They are also wanted to migrate it to the cloud. They wanted to migrate everything to the cloud. So this is what is a common use case for most of the cloud projects, guys. This is what is a common use case. So what they wanted to do is that they are managing its own infrastructure, which they don't wanted to do is they wanted to migrate everything to the cloud so that they can get benefit of the money and effort and also the time. So that is the reason. Now, if the Flipkart wanted to migrate it to the Google Cloud platform, sir. Flipkart wanted to migrate it to the Google Cloud platform. Now tell me, do we have any solution similar to the MySQL on top of this virtual machine? Do we have any solution similarly? So they need the MySQL. So can we use the Cloud SQL here in this case?
Yes, yes.
Yes, we can use.
So what is that? Is that so when they want the MySQL, they are maintaining the virtual machine, they are maintaining the infrastructure, they're maintaining the networking, many things. Now they don't want it to manage their own infrastructure. They wanted to move through the cloud. To move to the cloud, they have to migrate this entire data from the on-premises to the cloud first. So they have to migrate this entire data from the on-premises to the cloud. Okay, but you see here, one of the solution where they wanted to migrate to is Cloud SQL, because the Cloud SQL is a multi-database engine support. It's providing you the multi-database engine support. It supports the MySQL, SQL Server, and PostgreSQL. And it is also one of the RDBMS solution where you can have your data in the form of a tabular format, and the schema must be defined properly as per your MySQL. Okay, so that is how most of the projects, whoever is managing or maintaining their MySQLs, they are going to migrate it to the Cloud SQL. So such a kind of a solution is Cloud SQL, sir. Okay, Cloud SQL is a very, very commonly used nowadays, and they are going to use it for the maintaining their own RDBMS solution on top of the cloud platforms. Okay, so how do they do it is that first they try to migrate this entire data from here to here, and once it is everything is migrated, they just don't use this one. They remove this entire thing. They will connect this to the application. They will connect this to the application. From now on, the application generates the data, and the data is actually directly going to the Cloud SQL MySQL databases. So this is what happens in the companies, guys. Okay, so this is what happens in the companies, that no one wanted to maintain its own infrastructure nowadays. Everyone wanted to move to the cloud. So to move to the cloud, so you need to have a proper solution also. If you do not have a proper solution in the cloud, how do you move it? So for MySQL or a SQL or a PostgreSQL, the one of the best solution in the Google Cloud platform is a Cloud SQL. Okay, it is a fully managed service, RDBMS solution, database as a service, supports 3 database engines. Okay, so this is what is Cloud SQL. Any questions, anyone?
So, so sir, the existing application, how do they migrate? So does Google
They
Cloud
don't
provides
micro. I mean, for the migration, that's a different case.
different case?
Okay,
But
so that
does Google provide any
the
service?
existing migration of an application that's totally a different course, and that's totally a different scenario, because
Okay, that's fine.
migrating an application is of more of a DevOps engineers or more of a developer's headache. But our main agenda is that the data, because as a data engineer, we have to migrate the data, databases, tables, views, functions, everything. So that is our main agenda.
No,
Okay.
that's correct, sir. So what I'm asking is like the database itself. So to migrate it, does Google Cloud provides any tools, like any engine ship that they provide to
They,
migrate
they provide multiple services. For
multiple
of
services?
course,
Okay.
they will provide multiple. We have a DMS. We have a. I mean, if you wanted to go a data processing service, or if you wanted to go for a DMS, I will tell you one of the
Yeah,
methods.
yeah, sure. Thank you.
So now, guys. So for example, look at here. Um, Cloud SQL, right? So we can go for the Cloud SQL. So look at here, the Cloud SQL, guys. So you can search with the Cloud SQL in Google Cloud Platform, search properly the project. You can also see here, this is what is Cloud SQL, guys. Cloud SQL is a fully managed database service for MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL Server, reducing the overall cost of operation, freeing up teams to focus on the innovation. So this is what the main agenda. So usually when you are working in on premises, you will be spending a lot of time, a lot of money on the operations that you don't have to do, and you are spending a lot of time on the infrastructure building, which the Cloud SQL don't want you to work on that. You try to focus on the innovation instead of on the infrastructure. Okay, so that is the main agenda of all of the cloud platform services. Now, if you wanted to work with the cloud SQL, just click on. We are going to work with the free credits only. Create instance with your free credits. Click on this one. So, as I told you, it supports three database engines. If you wanted to work with MySQL, PostgreSQL, or a SQL Server. And one more advantage, the one beautiful thing is that it provides you the multiple versions also for each database engine. So if you are working on a 8.0 version in the MySQL in the on-premises, you can actually select the same thing because version to version there are few differences. So that is the reason this is also one more thing that they have added. So you can actually select as per your own requirement, that as per your own choice of a version. So that is also there. You can also go for choose MySQL for now if you wanted to. So 1 minute guys, let me enable the Computer Engine API.
So
So
when
if you
it comes to
wanted to work
API,
with the MySQL, sorry.
I have one question. So
Yeah.
since we are creating a database in the cloud, in order to communicate anything with the database, we have to use always API, correct, sir? That's the
No
is that
need
what?
to, sorry, no need to, sorry.
So what I'm saying is, if we enable if we create instance in the cloud, in order to
Okay.
communicate with the database, our database, we always have to use the API, correct? Is there any other way?
No, most of the times it's an API only because cloud services are built or connected, or the connection will be established via API only. But the thing is that I mean you don't have to specifically use the API key, API, all of those things because that's not how we work in the cloud services. But whenever you are using any services, the calls are via API only. Okay, but
Okay.
if I wanted to use the postman or some other services to whether this particular service or a metadata or whatever the information you wanted to get or post, you can actually go with all of those things. But the thing is that it's only for verification or testing purpose. But if you wanted to work with any databases, you can actually go for the MySQL workbench. For example, it is a MySQL, sir. I wanted to work with the MySQL. Okay, so you can go to the MySQL workbench, right? In on-premises, you'll be having a workbench, right? Local workbench. You can go. You can
Correct.
install local workbench and you can work with. Similarly, for the SQL Server, you can install the Studio, and for the PostgreSQL also, you can install the Studio. So this is how you can work with it. Okay. So to ensure these connections are properly available or not, you can actually do a Postman API verification, where whether you are able to get the information or not, you can check it. So that's only for the API verification, but you don't actually work via that. Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Now, sir, okay, let me go back. So if you wanted to work with any of the database engine, you can select of your choice. So I am going with the MySQL. And if I wanted to create a MySQL instance, guys, we first provide the instance ID. You can select anything. So I am selecting MySQL demo. The instance name is MySQL demo. I am providing the password. You can provide the password. This is a very important password. Don't forget it because this is a password for the root user. Okay. So 1 2 3 4 5 I have provided. And as I told you, right, we can select any of the database engines. Either we can select MySQL 5.7 or 5.6 or the 8.0. So you can select any of the database versions. And next thing is that choose the Cloud SQL edition. So there is a Enterprise Plus and Enterprise. There are two choices as per your requirement. You can also see here the differences. So it provides you the 128 CPUs, it provides you 98 CPU only. So as per your choice, you can select any of these things. I am now going with the enterprise. And according to your environment. Sir, I wanted to work with development environment or a testing environment or a production environment. As per your project environment, you can select this database. If you are using this database in the production environment, you can select here the production. If you are working with the testing environment, you can select for the sandbox environment. So any of the environment you can able to choose it here. I'm going with the development environment. So similar to the GCP locations, we must select any of the location here. So the thing is that Google Cloud SQL is a regional service. Okay, you can't go for the multi-regional. It is a regional service. You can go for the multi-zones, but you cannot go for the inter-regional. That means cross-regional you cannot go. Multi-regional you cannot go because it is a regional service only. The availability will be zonal. So that is the reason you can go for the multi-zones. So if you wanted to select a single zone or multi-zone, it's your choice. Okay, so I am selecting the multi-zones for the high availability. So if you wanted to select the region is this one. Any of the region you can select it. Europe, West 1, West 2. So the region, and inside the region there will be how many zones will be there, sir, for each region. Minimum number of zones are
3.
three minimum number of zones will be there, right? So the
Yeah.
data and everything will be replicated to the multiple zones. That means into these three zones, the data will be replicated. So that is how you will be having a high availability. Okay, but you cannot go for the multi regions. So that is a drawback, we can say. So once we have selected the region as well as multi zones properly, you can, if you wanted to still customize your instance, you can click on the show configuration. So machine configuration, if you wanted to change it, sir, I wanted to go for this one. And sir, storage, I wanted to go for 10 GB is more than fine. So if you wanted to enable the automatic storage increase option, you can enable it. Connections, if you wanted to establish, we can select it. Data protection, that is like maintenance, backup, point in recovery, all of those options are here. So disable this option, guys. Disable this option. So this option is like when we enable this option, whenever we try to delete the Cloud SQL, also we cannot be able to delete it. Okay, so that is something from drawback. What happens is that when you enable this option, this is one of the beautiful option, guys. It's like a protecting your Cloud SQL instance. So what happens is that some people try to delete the Cloud SQL instance because, but it is a very important instance for us. So in such scenario, we don't want it to make the delete option available to all of the people. In such cases, you can actually enable this one, so that if someone is trying to delete it, also they cannot be able to delete it. First thing, if you wanted to delete it, you have to come to the editing the properties, disable this option, then you can delete it. So that is what you have to do. Now I'm disabling it. You can go for the maintenance, query insights, flags, if you wanted to add any of the labels. So all of these options are here, guys. What you have to do is that you have to go to each and every option, try to look at the options and see what is the importance of each option. Okay, so first select instance ID, password, database version, edition, regional availability. 1 minute, guys. Okay, so whenever you wanted to provide each and every configuration, you can come back here, you can edit the properties, you can again provide the properties as per your requirement. So you have all the options which you wanted to create your entire full length database engine for your own operational database purpose. Okay, so you can go here, you can provide each and every option, guys. Once you have provided all the options, you can also see the cost estimations. Okay, so this is how you have the cost estimation, and these are the summary of operations that you have selected here. Once you have selected, just click on create instance. Sorry. Okay, password policy is there. No, I don't know. So I can provide any password. That's fine actually. Okay, the instance is being getting created, guys. Let us wait. So it takes like 4 to 5 minutes, guys, for the instance to be created. Let us wait for some time. And meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me.
Sir, you said about engine, sir, where it is.
Which one? Sorry.
You said about engine, database engine.
That's what we have selected. The MySQL is one of the engine, right?
Okay, this total scenario we can directly say engine.
No, actually, what happens is that MySQL, SQL Server, or PostgreSQL, these are the database engines. Okay, so you can instead of calling it as engine, you can call it as a software, database softwares. You can think of. Okay, those are directly
Okay,
getting installed
okay.
automatically in the backend now. So when you provide the configuration, who is
Then,
installing, who is maintaining, who is controlling everything is by GCP. So that's the reason it is getting some time for creating the instance. Okay.
okay, this service indirectly called we have to call engine only, sir. This
So it
total
will be
service.
directly installing the MySQL on top of some of the resources, and that MySQL is going to be establishing a connection. And once it is establishing a connection properly, then we can start using this MySQL instance.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So this is what, guys. So for example, if you go to the Cloud SQL, so
So
if you
this
go to the Cloud SQL, yeah,
Cloud is providing only these three RDBMS.
correct, correct. So as
So
of now, it's providing you three database instances only. So if you go to the Cloud SQL, we have to create the instance, guys. While creating the instance, we can select a MySQL database engine or a SQL server or PostgreSQL. We can only select these three because as of today, it is only providing the support for these three. It's not providing the support for any other. Okay. Yeah. And if you
so
wanted to
in
create
future
any
it's possible, sir. It may add in
it
future.
may, I think they are planning to add Oracle, I believe. Okay.
Okay, I
Yeah.
heard DB2 also is because
Yes,
when
DB2
I
is also
heard
there, but not
migration
sure.
account.
Not sure. Yeah.
Okay,
So this is how for now. Let me not add it because it's not added yet. Okay. So if you wanted to create an instance, we have to select the database versions properly. Once we have provided that, provide the configuration properly. Once you have provided the configuration, that's where your instance takes like 4 to 5 minutes for the instance to be created. Okay, if you wait for 4 to 5 minutes, the entire Cloud SQL instance gets created with all the configuration, and with your MySQL database engine, it will be getting created. And once it is created, I will show you how to work with it. So this may take few more minutes. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Usually, with this MySQL or a SQL Server or a PostgreSQL, if you wanted to work with it, right? So if you want, for example, we have created this MySQL instance. We have created this MySQL instance. If you wanted to work with this instance, either we can work from the Cloud Shell, but it is a shell environment. We can work from the workbench, on-premises workbench, or we can work from the studio because they have Cloud SQL Studio is also there, guys. They have recently added this feature, Cloud SQL Studio. Okay, you can work from any of these locations. Okay, that means working with the MySQL is that creating a table. Okay, creating SQL queries for that, deleting the table, altering the table, DDL, DML operations, whatever the DDL, DML operations that you wanted to do. That can be done from the Cloud Shell, sorry, or the workbench. The workbench is local based. It is a local workbench. And the Cloud SQL Studio, they have recently introduced this option. If you can also see here, this Cloud SQL Studio they have started. Okay, you can actually create a connection to this MySQL instance, and we can work with that. So that is also there. Anyway, we can work with that, guys. So let me show you few options. Okay, this MySQL Studio option I will show you so that you can able to work with it. Meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me.
So the Cloud SQL Studio, like once we created, like if we have like 10 users, 10 developers, we can only
Okay,
assign Cloud SQL Studio alone to them so that they can work with the database, right?
correct.
Is that my
Correct.
understanding, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we can create we can create a username for that, and we can provide the username, and they can able to connect it to this instance via this IP address as well as
Studio.
you
Yeah.
know,
I just
username
want.
and password.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah. So this is how if you wanted to establish a connection to this one, for example, from some application or from this workbench or Cloud Shell is directly authorized from the workbench. So some external systems, if you wanted to connect it to this instance, you need to have a four details, guys. You need to have a four details. Sir, I have a workbench. Okay, assume that you have a workbench, and I wanted to uh, establish a connection to the MySQL instance which I have just created, MySQL instance. So if you wanted to do that, you need to have a four details. One is host IP address, username, password, and port number. By default, the port number is 3306. We don't need to worry about it. The host IP address, you can check it in the Cloud SQL page. Username and password, you can create your own username and password. I will show you now. Okay, so that is how. See here, our MySQL instance is created. So the host IP is this one only, guys. Public IP address is nothing but your host IP address. And if you wanted to create a users, you can go to the users section. So by default, there will be a root user. The password for the root user is we already know 12345, which we have given, right? So that is the password. If you wanted to add any user, you can come here, my user. So what we have to do, sir, we just click on add user. We click on my user and the password my pass. I am going to provide my pass. Password is also my pass, and click on add. So user will be added, guys. So this is how you can create a users, and you can provide they can able to connect establish a connection to their databases. Okay, so that is how. So if they wanted to create any tables using the Cloud SQL Studio, they can go to the Cloud SQL Studio, and databases, we do not have any databases so far. So let me go to the first databases. So can you tell me, guys, do we have any databases created so far? Have we
No,
created any databases so far? No.
we
It's
create
because
instance.
all these are the system databases. Okay, if you wanted to create any database, you can click on create database, just provide some database name, sample DB, and click on create. So the database will be created, you can see. So you can also see the operations, guys, whatever the things that we are doing it. So creating backup, creating a user, creating a database, all the operations, whatever we are doing, it will be available in the operations. So you can go to the databases. See here, one of the database we have just created, that is user. Sir, I wanted to go to the database and do some kind of a table creations and all of those things. Click on the Cloud SQL Studio, select the database, username. We just now we have selected my user. The password is my pass. So this is how username, password, and sample DB. Click on authenticate. Okay, so this is how the Cloud SQL editor opens. So it is an editor where you can able to run your SQL statements and all of those things. So far, how many tables are there in this particular database?
0.
We do not have any data. We do not have any tables. So all the tables are zero, views zero, everything is zero. If you wanted to create any tables, create table. We have to just provide the table name. The table name will just say customers table. I wanted to create it, guys. So if you wanted to create it any customers table or users table or customers table, whatever it is, customers table I wanted to create it. So whenever we wanted to create any table, guys, we already know we have to provide the ID, integer, and username, customer username, varchar 200, some email, customer email, some varchar 200, age integer, and that's it. I created it. So these are the details that I wanted to provide it, guys. So timestamp I wanted to provide timestamp, and default I just wanted to mention current timestamp. The value will be current timestamp. I wanted to go. So the value will be current timestamp. So this is how there is a problem. Okay, default value. Default value is current timestamp. Okay, this is how I wanted to create a table. Users, let us call it as a users table. Okay, I wanted to create a users table. User ID, user name, user email, age, and all of those things. Just click on create run. Search statement is executed successfully. So if you can refresh here, you have a refresh button here, guys. If you refresh here, table one. Click on this one, you have a users table. Click on this table, arrow mark. When you click on it, you have a 5 columns. If you wanted to see the details, you can able to see all of these things. Okay, so this is how whenever you wanted to create any table, you can able to create it from the Cloud SQL Studio itself. Okay, so this is how it is. And if you wanted to insert the data also, you can manually insert the data. I'm just inserting the data. You can see here, guys, I'm copying and pasting the data here. Just click on run. Okay, 1 minute, guys. Okay, so if you wanted to see the data, you can able to do it. So you guys already know the SQL, so that's the reason I don't need to explain anything. If you wanted to see the data, sample DB dot users, you can able to run the query, and you will be able to see the data like this. So this is how you can have your, you can create tables, you can alter the data, you can alter the table, delete the table, anything you can able to perform it here. So it is providing a beautiful editor itself. You can able to see it. And this editor is still in the beta period only. They are going to add few more properties. Okay, so this is how it is, guys. Any other questions, anyone?
No, sir. Clear.
Okay, so this is how you can able to establish a connection and you can able to work with it. So this is what is Cloud SQL, guys. So if you go to the Cloud SQL, so you have created a one SQL instance. So what is that instance? It's a MySQL instance, the post IP address, and you will be able to see all of these details. So this is what we call as a MySQL string. You can use that. Okay, so this is how we can able to create a Cloud SQL instance, and we can able to work with the databases. We can create the tables and all of those things. Okay, yeah, this is it for today, guys. If you have any questions, you can tell me.
Sir, if I want to use a studio, then any bill generation happens, sir?
Which studio?
That SQL
This
studio
one. This one. No, it's
studio,
for
sir, studio.
example.
Till now you explained about.
Yeah, this one, right? So whatever the studio you wanted to use it here, the Cloud SQL Studio, and it does not work like that, guys. So as what happens is that this entire instance is already created for you. Okay, even though you use it or you do not use it, there will be a cost associated for that. Okay, see, one you have to understand one thing is that whenever you create any instance, so you are already given some kind of a compute options, that CPU, RAM, and SSD. It's already available. Okay, you use it or you don't use it until you stop it. This particular instance is costly. So, so that is what happens. So when you are using it, that means the compute resources you are using it. Okay, so that is what happens. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Okay, so once you have created your instance, and sir, I have explored a lot, and you don't want it to have this Cloud SQL instance available all the time. So what you can do is that you can click on delete, guys, or you can even stop it. So anything is fine. Okay, you can stop it. Tomorrow you can again restart it. Now I am stopping the session. I don't want it to work with the Cloud SQL now. So that is how I am stopping it. So do the cleanup. Don't
But
keep the
even stop,
instances available all the time. Okay. Yeah.
even the stop, they'll charge us money, right, sir?
No, during the start there won't be any resources available, so that's the reason the cost will be less.
But still cost is there. But unless
There
we
will
delete
be a
it,
little cost will be there, but still it will be very less. Yeah.
got it.
Sir, in real time, Flipkart using GCP cloud, no, sir, it is completely migrated to GCP only. Any other cloud
No, see,
Flipkart?
when you are working in a GCP project, all the things you are going to use it from the GCP services only. Okay, the databases, tables, storage, processing, machine learning, warehousing, everything in the GCP only. Okay, if your product is migrating to the GCP, that means all the things are migrated to the GCP only. Okay.
Okay, but no, sir. Actually, Flipkart using GCP cloud no, no, in real time also.
Yeah, real time GCP. Yes. Okay. So this is it for today, guys. So we will see tomorrow one more topic, that is BigQuery. Okay. So this is how, if you wanted to create an instance and all of those things, try to create it properly, guys. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sure.
guys. Yeah. Thank you all. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day. We will meet tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.